On day 31 of the new input, is this joystick worth it? I really do think I just recorded for an entire 40 minutes talking to this mic just to realize that the way I explained this information to you guys in that video was absolutely terrible. It's crucial for me to explain this sequence in the order that I'm going to do it right now so that you guys can have a full understanding of exactly what I like about this GMK joystick and what I don't like. We're talking about what it takes and what it looks like to master the next meta input. My name is KenBeans. Don't forget to use code KenBeans in the item shop. And also, as I show you this GMK joystick, this mouse pad right here is going to be available on KenBeans.store. It was literally just released about a week ago. Going deeper into it though, this is the GMK joystick. It has the analog stick, which allows me to have controller movement on keyboard and mouse. How it works, you just stick it right underneath your keyboard like so, and instead of resting my hands on WASD, if you could see up top, I rest my hands on SZXC. And if you guys don't know, Martas, who also uses the GMK joystick, he rests his hands in the same position. So if you were even remotely thinking about making the switch, you would have to realize that you're not resting on WASD anymore, you're in fact resting down here. That means that you're gonna have to relearn a lot of the binds. Speaking of my binds, are going to be at the end of the video where I explain them, so stay tuned for that. Before the switch, I felt really confident on my binds. I truly felt like I had the most optimal binds on keyboard and mouse. What made my binds so optimal before I made the switch to the GMK joystick, I pressed my edit key with my thumb. So that means that paired with the double movement software, I used Wooting at 78%, I was constantly able to edit without taking my hands off the WASD. I had all my builds on separate fingers, and 2, I used the double movement software to help me even further on Fortnite. You might be asking yourself right now, why did you switch to the GMK joystick then? Well, you billies, I'm here to tell you in this video. Day 1, I switched to the GMK joystick. I get this question asked every single time on my stream. The main reason I switched to the joystick was because it has more optimal binds, even more optimal than what I thought to be on the normal keyboard. Let me explain something to you real quick. What the thing does is it allows you to no longer use WASD as movement. That means that instead of resting my hands, my 4 fingers on WASD, I am now resting them on other binds that are extremely crucial on Fortnite, like building, editing, and my shotgun. I got that thing in the mail. The first thing I did was I sat down on my desk, I started my stream, I plugged it in, and as together with my chat, we decided to come up with the most optimal bind. So the first reason was more optimal binds, but the second one, what really makes this thing a little special is the fact about controllers. One thing that if you do play controller, you know about, or chances are you probably know about this anyway, but if you are creeping on a controller, you can control the speed at which you run. So if you think about it in a box fight, or maybe even turning a corner in a game, so you can control the timing of right hand peaks by going really slow or really fast. Those are the 2 reasons right there that I think this thing is really useful. Getting into the more juicier stuff, Martas and I have been DMing about the best way to set this thing up. When I first got this thing, the double movement on it was absolutely trash. It's almost non-existent because I had my settings set up the wrong way. Here's a screenshot of the anti-micro software showing on screen right now. In case you don't know, this is the software that you have to download so that it works with your keyboard. In order to bring up this picture, you need to make sure that you click on L stick and you can adjust the dead zone, max zone, diagonal range, all that crap. Just make sure you have it set on 8-way and you can customize it just like me. Martas found these settings through experimentation, and this is what he believes to be the best double movement for the anti-micro software. I put my man through an interrogation, asked him why he used this, why he used that, and for the most part, I do believe these to be the best settings right now. A little backstory though, around day 17, I'm about a little bit more than 2 weeks into this joystick. I noticed that I was reaching plateaus faster than I thought. I don't know if you guys could relate, but when you played Fortnite for the first time, the most improvement you're gonna see is in that first 2 weeks. At around that 2-week mark, it was a big struggle because I realized I was hitting a plateau. I literally went to Martas and told him that I was thinking about switching back to my old binds. I realized that trying to get double movement on the analog stick is not nearly as good as trying to do it without the analog stick. If you pay attention to people who don't use the GMK joystick, it's almost noticeable right away. And when you do window edits and certain edits, it's really noticeable. I showed Martas a TikTok of mine where I was using the right and left movements really quick. I'm gonna keep replaying this at the start as I talk about it. Look at when I initially start making this double edit. You guys see how much I'm moving to the left and right as I'm making this double edit? It's almost crazy to look at because that little micro movement to the left and right is what throws people's aim off a lot. If I try to replicate this on the joystick, I do not have this type of movement. So when you're trying to box fight on the GMK joystick, you won't be as good as you were with this type of movement. That's one of the main things that made me want to switch back. On day 25, I decided to go back to my old binds and try it out. Doing that might have been the biggest motivation for me to continue staying on the joystick. I thought that in 3 weeks that I would still be able to switch back no problem. Everything I did up until this point made it so hard to switch back because all my muscle memory from my old binds completely completely left me. Martas said that after a week, he tried to go back just for fun to see what it was like, and he couldn't handle it just as much as I couldn't. I never thought that it would be that complicated to try and go back to my old bind. So that just made me even more motivated to continue on the path I was going, because I knew that this was the route I have to take. I was seriously on the verge of giving up, and after literally on day 30, I started to see that I was improving at the things that I was really plateauing in on week 2. Whenever I try to do a triple edit down just like this, I don't know what it is. On any sort of triple edit, I'm always placing the cone. I want this to be a stair instead, or even when I'm doing it the reverse way, this damn cone always places. This is a tip that will help a lot of people. If you're in a similar situation just like me, where things are placing and you don't know what's going on, take it slower. I started going way slower, and I started to relearn the way I do double edits and triple edits. Then I started to build up the speed, and around that 31-day mark was when I realized that I was able to do them back to back to back without messing up. Occasionally, it still does happen though. I make sure that I place the cone first and then the floor, and by the time I place the wall, the last build that's going to be out is a floor, so the cone will never place. One thing I didn't mention throughout this entire video was using these control freaks. I have one right here, but I'm gonna order new ones because I do not like these. In the midst of talking to Martas, one thing I didn't mention was the fact about the control freaks on the analog stick. Lots of people want to know that whether or not the analog stick needs one of these because the grip on it is not so good. After like an hour and a half of gaming, every single time I always find myself readjusting, and it's very slippery. If you have sweaty hands when you play games, you definitely want to get something that enhances the grip. Good thing these things aren't that expensive. After a full month of going through all this torture, I think that now is about the time where I'm ready to get into comp, or at least trying to test my skills at another level. For those who are curious, I'm going to timestamp this video for the exact warm-up routine of what I did to get better within that month. Lots of people want to know a routine like this, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did, how I managed all my uploads, going to family parties, dealing with Christmas, playing on stream. Whatever it took to get a video completed, I would do that, and then afterwards, if I had more free time, that's when I would dedicate to grinding mechanics. If you're someone who's in school, or if you're someone with a different job, once you complete your task for the day, then you can go on to this training routine. It's super important to have a clear head when you practice. That's something I realized throughout the course of this month that has helped me so much and get better really fast. No BS, Raider is releasing a new map very soon if it's not out by the time this video's out. He has an aim training map, he has a piece controlling map, he has a 1v1 map. I grinded every single one of those things, but I made sure to set aside time for free building. Free building in creative is one of the most important things because this is where you can hone in on one specific area. There's definitely one retake where your movement's not that good. You're double edit, but you still run into boxes. There's so many specific things you can practice in free build. So every day I got on, I would warm up in creative trying to piece control bots, trying to work on the things that I knew I was bad at the previous day. Things like relearning my new jump bind, relearning my crouch bind, pairing that with sliding, piece controlling while being behind cover, while not jumping at the wrong time, and by being in the exact spot I need to be so I can have the best right hand peek. These are some of the things when it comes to warming up you have to keep in mind, but you need to make sure, I'm going to clarify this again, having a clear head as you go throughout your practice is one of the most important things because you get to really focus on what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong without worrying and thinking about other things. I really hope if throughout anything in this video resonates with you, that right there does. Keep in mind that I didn't practice every single day throughout the month. This is a progression video. This is 31 days later, but I probably skipped around a week to maybe 9 days of practice, mostly because I edit a video and I don't play throughout that entire day. But I'm sure you out there right now have done things just like that where you miss days of playing. You can still get to the pro level by missing some days of playing. You don't have to horse in 10 hours a day. I spend a majority of time, probably minimum an hour, towards the end of the day to practice 1v1s and really hone in on the Raider 1v1 map so I can practice not taking damage while fighting people. Before I get into the single most important question, which is, do you think this was worth it or not? I'm going to quickly show you guys the settings that I use. I do have confirm edit on release on, by the way. Quick side note, the button that I use on the GMK joystick itself is the ping button on Fortnite, because I want you guys to have a video just like this where you can copy my settings and implement them into your own settings, so maybe you can come up with a better variation if you wanted to. Keep in mind I rest my fingers instead of WASD, it's SZXC. I jump with left control and I crouch with left shift. The only thing I don't like about my binds, to be completely transparent, is my map and not being comfortable with my emote button. In fights I'll randomly misclick and take out my map, but that's just because I suck at using my binds and I still need to work on them. Also, the hardest thing about switching is trying to get used to pressing all my weapon slots again. I switched up a bunch of them, but I'm getting really used to it. It's just the ones that I don't use too often that are harder to press, like my sniper and taking out heals. The only way you get better at stuff like that though is doing it under pressure in real games, so I need more experience. The final question remains, on day 31 of the new input, is this joystick worth it? I think it depends on the person you are, and also you have to time it right so that tournaments aren't out by the time you make the switch, because then you won't be able to play them. I did it in a time where the chapter just reset, tournaments weren't announced too much, and I had about a month and a half to get to the point where I'm at now, so now I can kind of play in them. I use this joystick, one, to make more content. More people like to see me use these things and struggle with them. I don't know why you guys have that sick mindset. No, I'm kidding. Two, I wanted to have the most optimal binds ever, but at the same time, I don't think it's 100% worth it if you're just doing it for that, because there's people like Clicks, Booga, and practically every single pro who have used the same bind since the game came out, and they're really cracked. Quick thing about that, I just talked about this in Styx's stream. If you guys don't know him, he's also another pro. He was agreeing with me about the fact how once you play and play so much, your mechanics get to a really good level. Even though your binds may not be that optimal, you're still really good at the game. What holds a lot of people back is their game sense. So once you get to a certain point of grinding mechanics, you need to focus more so on game sense than you do need to work on your mechanics. So long story short, you just maintain those mechanics and then you play arena to get that game sense. You play scrims to get that game sense, and that's where you develop and get really good, and that's where you might be able to start getting earnings, because your game sense is at another level. Your mechanics are just staying maintained. Please use code KenBeans if this video helped you at all. Also, if you do want to get the joystick, don't forget that you could use code KenBeans at checkout on the website. It's going to be linked down below. It doesn't give you a percentage off, but it does support like a normal Fortnite creator code. So if this video inspired you, good luck, and thank you to everyone who watched the video even though you might not even be doing it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, deuces, peace.